I'm going to be doing the talk tonight. But I first want to start with Happy Friday the 13th. And when I saw that this was on the calendar and it was one of our Explore weeks, I'm like, we have to do superstitions. Well, and it's in the spooky month of October, so, I couldn't pass it up. And we're going to talk about how superstitions, have a role in religion. So here we go. As everybody knows, humans have a real strong tendency towards superstition. Humans love superstitions and talismans, possibly because they seem to settle us down or protect us from things that we fear. At times, everybody will lean towards spiritualizing and placing power on objects or behaviors or beliefs instead of trusting in the person and the will of God. Everybody is tempted at some point to use these things to try to control our faiths, but the question is why? And this is why. It's the illusion of control. Superstitions give us that illusion of control in a world that can be a very terrifying place, full of awful days, horrible diseases, car accidents that we can't explain. God hasn't promised to spare us from these things, so we turn to behaviors and talismans that for some reason we believe will give us protection. Another reason that believers tend to lean towards superstitions is because the Christian faith is often difficult and complex. But the superstition, in contrast, boils down the complexity to the simple input-output equation. As long as we do the right things, we think we can have some control over our lives regardless of God's plan for us. Yeah. So it's like, if I do my daily devotions, I will have a good day. If I pray about it, it will happen. If I put a rosary on my rearview mirror, I won't crash my car. If I never miss a day of church, I'll go to heaven. These are all superstitions. Thinking these things or actions actively have a power that, if you think they actively have the power to protect us, that is superstition. So superstitions range from the benign, many of which we're going to talk about in a moment, to the occult practices of astrology, black magic, divination, voodoo, and sorcery. It was fun finding images. So the scripture in the Old Testament condemns people who practice this. The New Testament has a little bit of different spin on it. But you can read about it in Deuteronomy, in 2 Kings, and Isaiah. I'm not going to go into them because it's strange. So, right? In the New Testament, the Bible simply just doesn't support the ideas that things occur by chance. And it states that nothing is done outside of God's control, which is against the function of superstition. Superstitions are to give us control, but nothing's outside of God's control. So God according to the Bible, God either causes or allows everything in keeping with his divine plan. You can see this in a lot of ways in Acts 4:28 and Ephesians 1:10. So again, everything is in God's plan, so superstition does not equal God's plan. All right. Superstition by itself is putting faith in an object or behavior as having magical powers. So another word for superstition can be idolatry. Biblically speaking, idolatry is forbidden, even in Revelation. And Revelation states that no one who practices it will enter the kingdom of God. The Bible says that these practices are dangerous because they open the mind to the devil's influence. In 1 Peter 5:8, it warns us to be self-controlled and alert. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like the roaring lion looking for someone to devour. So the scriptures are basically teaching us that any hope we find in talismans is a delusion. Okay. And this even goes for good things that we do if we use them to supply us with confidence. So in the Bible, we talk about, these are good things. Fasting. It's a good thing if you're doing it for the right reasons. But in Isaiah 5:8, which I forgot a colon, I'm so sorry. Maybe it's 58. I don't know. But there's someone who fasts but does it hypocritically. So if you're doing it because you think that is a tool to get you into heaven, you're not doing it the right way. And also building temples. The building temples or churches for the wrong reasons is seen in the issues with the Jerusalem temple in Jeremiah 7. It says they have built the high places of Topheth in the valley of Ben Hinnom to burn their sons and daughters in the fire. And then God says, this is something I did not command, nor did it enter my mind. So he is condemning these people who built the temples because they're suddenly using them to sacrifice their daughters and sons. Again, superstition, not what temples and churches are intended to be. Also, communion, strangely enough, not strangely enough maybe, but if you do it just because you're like, if I don't do it, I'm going to be smited by God, that's not the reason to do communion. And you see this in the practice of the Lord's Supper in 1 Corinthians 11. Someone in there does it without meaning, and it's a hollow exercise. If you do it with the right intention, you're doing it for the right reasons. This also goes for other things that, in religious things that aren't necessarily bad if they're done for the right reason. The rosary, not bad in itself, but using it as a good luck charm, like putting it on your rearview mirror and thinking that will prevent an accident, or thinking the prayers just magically will work simply because you're doing them on the rosary, superstition. The crucifix, vampires. It doesn't ward off vampires. Thinking it is a magical way to ward off evil things? No, like exorcisms and things. But using it as a way to center yourself? Great. Holy water, believing it has magical powers to ward off evil and give blessings. Guess what? It's just water. Even prayer, something that we do hold very highly, can be a superstition, because if you're praying for things and expecting a magical one-to-one input-output, that is superstition. Even ritualistically devoting yourself to reading scripture, like thinking if you miss a day of reading, then your life is going to have failure or be bad, that's a superstition. But if you read the devotions just to be closer to God and to be closer to the Bible, right on. Even going to church can be a superstition, because people do think if I don't go to church, I'm going to hell. No, if you don't go to church, you're just not going to church. If you need it for community, great, but it's not going to make or break your ability to get to God. And then in Catholicism, we have saints, not we, but there are saints, and the people pray to particular saints for particular outcomes. When I was researching this, it was just weird. There are saints for everything, from entire countries to professions to actions to race or gender class to what ails you. I won't go through a whole bunch of this is just a fraction of what's out there. But there's some really funny ones on here. I wish I had highlighted them more. But what's a good one? Okay, so St. Elmo for ammunition, explosive workers, sailors, and women in labor, which is explosive. Right?
Yeah.
So there was right here, St. Clair for embroiderers, eye disorders, and television. We don't have a saint for television, and yet there is one. So St. Nicholas of Myra, bakers, brewers, merchants, pawnbrokers, and travelers. Why? St. Perpetua is for cows. Why do we need this? I don't know. But there's snake bite victims. There's fear of rats and mice, stomach disorders, domestic workers, maids, and lost keys. So if you lost your keys, pray to Saint Zita. Just saying. And I'm not trying to totally make fun, but it's this is a superstition. So look it up. It's hilarious. All right. So the basic, again, none of these are really bad. It's just done with the bad intention. It can be a superstition. And it gives you false comfort and false confidence. So the basic overall Bible message is that we shouldn't get faith from objects or rituals made by man, but from the one true God who gives us eternal life. This is emphasized in Colossians 2:8. And it says, see to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy, which depends on human tradition and the basic principles of the world rather than on Christ. And this is what we see in a lot of the churches that, are against the common sense issues that we're dealing with now. They're going on a hollow philosophy and deceptive philosophy rather than what Christ would have done. That all being said, we're going to dive into some of our culture's most prominent superstitions, some of them good, some of them bad. and what, if anything, they have to do or had to do originally with religion. So we're going to start with the lucky objects first, the happy ones, right? So the first one, the four-leaf clover. So apparently no clover plants actually naturally produce four leaves. So four-leaf clovers are mutations. They're aberrations. There's like a 10,000 to 1 possibility you're going to find a four-leaf clover, and if you find something that looks like it, it's probably a different plant. Hundreds of years ago in Ireland, the four-leaf clover became a symbol of luck. It represented faith, hope, love, and success. Good things, right? But the ancient Druids, the Celtic priests, believed that carrying a three-leaf clover, or shamrock, let them see evil spirits. Four-leafers, if they had a four-leaf clover, it was a Celtic charm that offered protection against bad luck. But children in the Middle Ages thought by carrying these they could see fairies. Interesting. All right, pennies. You guys know the saying, find a penny, pick it up, all day long you'll have good luck. However, only if it's heads up. Right? So originally it was good luck because it was metal, which was seen as valuable and a blessing from the gods. But now if you see a penny, and I see this with my kids all the time, they see a penny, like, Mom, a penny. And I'm like, is it heads up? They're like, no. Like, flip it over. I do it all the time. Because, I mean, it is in the thing, and I was in my research as well. If you find one tails up, flip it for the next person to find. You don't pick it up if it's tails up. Why? Just what we do. Horseshoes. This was a really creepy and fun one. So these are commonly thought of as lucky, correct? Right? Do you know why? Okay. It's because of the shape. Because when upside down, kind of like this, it invokes the pagan moon goddess Diana and her sacred vulva. Yeah. But it's also made of iron, so that's a valuable material. And iron was thought as magical and warding off spirits. Why? Okay, the rabbit's foot, which is the colorful thing in the middle here. And this is a true report in 1908. A British account advertised rabbit's feet imported from America were the left hind foot of a rabbit killed in a country churchyard at midnight during the dark of the moon on Friday the 13th of the month by a cross-eyed, left-handed, red-headed, bow-legged Negro riding a white horse. What? And this is why rabbit's foots are lucky to this day.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of different this is literally what I found.
Yeah.
That was in a newspaper.
That takes a
Okay?
lot.
There's other recollections that disagree about how the rabbit must be killed and collected, but everything indicates that the rabbit's foot placates or gets rid of uncanny or evil times like the dark of the moon, a rainy Friday, a Friday the 13th, or just any Friday. So, and then lucky number 7. We know this is lucky, right? Why is it lucky? This one actually kind of has some rules in science, but number 7 has been lucky since ancient times, and it's prominent everywhere. For Rome, it had a magical significance, and it's seen in the 7 hills where Rome was built. Then we have the 7 wonders of the world, either 7 colors in the rainbow, 7 notes in the musical scale. 7's pretty cool. In the Bible, God created the world in 6 days and used the 7th to rest, so we have 7 days in the week. Ancient beliefs stated that the 7th son of the 7th son would be gifted with magical powers, and that's why Jesus' lineage is described in detail in the Bible. 7 basically illustrates the idea of completeness throughout the Bible, but beyond that, ancient Babylonian tablets were full of 7s. Islam and Judaism have 7 heavens or levels or divisions of the heavens and 7 hells. Muslims walk around the Kaaba 7 times while making the pilgrimage to Mecca. 7 also represents harmony in the yin, yang, and elements of Confucianism. And Hinduism has 7 higher worlds and 7 underworlds. And Buddhism says the newborn Buddha took 7 steps. 7, I gotta give some credit to. But that's a little crazy. But also the number 12. The number 12 is frequently seen as positive. We have 12 months of the year, 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 days of Christmas, part goes in the pear tree. 12 tribes of Israel and 12 apostles of Jesus. And it's next to 13, so it's good. But many people fall prey to the human desire to associate thoughts and symbols with events, so that's how we get unlucky things. Unlucky things. chills. I see the reaction. I won't leave it here. So the 3 6s in a row give people chills, and I saw it happen. It goes back to the Bible. In the book of Revelation, 666 is given as the number of the beast, so it's often interpreted as the mark of Satan and the sign of the end of times. However, according to a State University of New York anthropologist, Revelation was written in code to persecuted Christians, so the numbers and the names are contemporary references. The 3 6 in the row, by research, most likely is the numeric equivalent of the Hebrew letters for the first Roman Emperor Nero, who was cray-cray. But, it's not actually something evil. I was dog walking. I won't keep this too much longer. I was dog walking in Yorkville, and the house address was 666, and it was for sale, and it had been on the market for like 10 months because nobody wanted to buy it. Like, okay. All right, get away from that. All right, so Friday the 13th. This is the why we're here, right? And this is actually slide number 13. I was very intentional about that. Around 17 million people in the world fear Friday the 13th. They are called, and I'm going to mess this up, frigatriscadecaphobic. Fantastic. Try that again. Did I do it okay?
All right.
Yeah. Backwards.
No, I'm not doing it backwards. Oh my gosh. For a lot of people, if anything bad happens on Friday the 13th, the two are forever associated in their mind. This irrational fear really only dates back to the 1800s. But Friday has long been thought of as unlucky. Jesus died on a Friday, and 13 has long been an unlucky number. So much so that many times, we were talking about this earlier, the 13th floors in hotels or high-rises does not exist. And then you've got the monsters who are 1313 Mockingbird Lane, and it keeps going, right? 13 actually is what it is. In the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, the number 13 comes up again as representing Satan, evil, wickedness, the devils, everything vile, as well as rebellion and a change that's coming. And also at the Last Supper, the great betrayer, Judas Iscariot, was the 13th member of the dinner party, and that party led to Christ's crucifixion. So that's just the Bible thing. But also historically, on Friday the 13th, October 1907, so 726 years ago tonight, King Philip IV of France arrested and put to death hundreds of the Templar Knights. But really, it's just a number. It's just a number. All right, everybody scared yet? Okay. Kitty cats, aren't they cute? Aww. So cats themselves have long been associated with good luck and were worshipped in cultures like ancient Egypt. I worship them in my own house. Different. But black, unfortunately, is associated with evil and death. And unfortunately, in the Dark Ages, in 1232, Pope Gregory IX declared that black cats were the incarnation of Satan. So people in the Middle Ages began to burn them in bonfires on holy days. I'm sorry. It was holy days like Shrove Tuesday, the first Sunday of Lent, and Easter. But then the Puritans came in America, connected them to witchcraft. Poor sweet kids. They're the sweetest cats I've ever owned. You've got yours, and I've had them in the past. So, yeah, they're so cute. Just leave them up for cuteness. Okay. All right. So we touched earlier on the cross a little bit, but the superstition is not limited to having the actual cross. Anything associated with this shape of the Christian cross is thought to be good luck. Crossing yourself. Making the sign of the cross was significant in English folk traditions and was believed to protect you from evil. It carries over into Catholicism and some other traditions, particularly in Latin America. However, the Puritans actually thought making the sign of the cross was superstitious and idolatrous. So if you did the sign of the cross, basically you were probably a witch. They thought everybody was a witch. So, also crossing your fingers. Those wishing for good luck can cross one finger over another. But do you know how it started? Back in early Christianity, it was two people. Don't need to get into it, but it was two people doing this. Okay? Every part. So, I'm sorry. It was two people doing this. Like I would be wishing her good luck, or she would be wishing me good luck. So that goes back to like the person. It was basically symbolizing support of the wish maker, and concentrating good forces, or sealing a pact. It gradually turned into something people did to bless their own wishes. First, it started like this, and then it went to this, And now we simply say fingers crossed, or we put an emoji. And the message gets across. So, in the last century, however, this has also been corrupted more as people use to cross fingers behind their back to superstitiously negate a promise or something like that. So it's been turned into evil. All right. What is this one? Knock on wood. So this is a phrase that's used as a verbal talisman to ward off bad luck after tempting fate. So you can say something, I've never gotten to that kind of accident, knock on wood. So you don't want to tempt the fact that you've spoken up to the universe to come back to you. I do this all the time, and then I get sad with myself for doing it. But there's similar phrases in other languages, and they're a little bit different, but they all suggest the desire not to be upset a spiteful universe. The fixation on wood comes from the old Indo-European or Celtic myths about good and bad spirits residing in trees. So knocking on the wood could call upon them for protection or chase away the bad ones. It also has an association with the perceived magical power of the wooden Christian cross, specifically the one Jesus was crucified on. But as with many superstitions, variations happen. Italians touch steel instead of wood. Steel is related to the iron of horseshoes, so that magical. Polish people and Russians touch unpainted wood. The Turks knock twice. Latin Americans must knock on wood that has no legs. So you can't knock on a chair or a table. You have to knock on something else. Don't know. All right. Walking under a ladder. Does this give anybody chills? No? I thought they were fun. Famous actors, I think. One of the most common superstitions of them, this one's actually pretty practical because it's just dangerous. But it comes from the Christian belief in the Holy Trinity, actually. The Trinity being three, a ladder leaning against the wall, or now in more modern things with the two legs, it forms the triangle or the Trinity, and breaking the triangle destroys the sanctity of God. And so it's blasphemous and therefore punishable. Don't know how fiercely, but it's punishable. Other popular theories have to do with its resemblance to the medieval gallows. Gallows were more of a square thing, but it was unlucky to walk where the noose was. Duh. And the Egyptians actually showed you believe that gods walked up and down ladders, and so if you were under a ladder and looked up, you might accidentally see a god and be spoke, and then it's just best to avoid doing that. All right.
That's what it was.
Now we have the fun broken mirror one, right? Because we all know the thing. If you break a mirror, you have 7 years of bad luck. But why 7?
I just broke a mirror like 2 weeks ago.
You can fix it. I will tell you how. All right. So this myth started back in the Romans, who believed that the soul regenerated every 7 years. So essentially, breaking a mirror makes you wait for an entirely new soul to get rid of your bad luck, because they believe mirrors were the reflection of you and reflected your soul. So the bad luck of it has places in origins in many places. So it says, well, the reflections of ourselves can be uncanny or unnerving if you're not expecting it, and how we see ourselves in the mirror is not how other people see us. Now there's one quote. It says, the reflection in a mirror represents not just one's physical appearance, but your soul, hence the breaking the soul who gets bad luck. Then there's the Greek myth of Narcissus, who got lost in his reflection in the pond and therefore was turned into a flower because of his self-obsession. The idea that cracking a mirror could trap someone's soul in the mirror. Cool. And they thought mirrors back in the day were a device of the gods. And if you break one, you're going to anger the gods, and then they would torment you. Yay. Right? Regardless of how it came about, breaking a mirror is said to bring misfortune, but it can be prevented. Dun, dun, dun. Just for you. All right. So, lots of ways to fix the broken mirror curse. As soon as possible, throw salt over your left shoulder, straight into the eyeball of the devil who is lurking there. And it buys you time to get away. And this stems from Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, in which Judas' betrayer of Judas is portrayed as having spilled salt. If you look at that painting. You can also use the salt to cleanse your body with salt water, or put sea salt in the corner of each room or under the windowsill to protect your house from unwanted spirits. You can spin in a circle 3 times. So it says, without hesitation, spin around 3 times counterclockwise to confuse the spirits. But you can only do this after breaking a mirror. If you don't, you'll just get dizzy. That was the research said that. Okay. And it brings you bad luck. So you can also grind the mirror into a fine powder so you can't see your reflection. This one I thought was hilarious and great. You can use it for DIY crafts and decorate something with your mirror pieces. So go ahead and do that. You can toss the broken mirror into a south-running stream. And this washes away your bad luck in only 7 hours, not 7 years. You can blacken the mirror with fire and then bury them 1 year later. You still have 1 year of bad luck, but not so bad. You can touch a tombstone with 1 shard, and it lifts the 7-year curse immediately. Or if it's a full moon, if you're lucky enough for it to be a full moon, take a glass shard out, reflect the moon, then look into it, and that'll take away your bad luck. But you can't throw it away, you have to bury it. There's hope, Kyle.
The mirror was not mine, and it's at somebody else's house.
You gotta go get it. Gotta retrieve it.
I don't know. You can also bury the glass. You can bury it into the ground. So far, the spirits can't find them, but you have to do it at night, or else your reflection can be buried with the pieces. So how are you supposed to know if any of this stuff works? If you can still see your reflection in the mirror, you're good. So vampires, dang it. They're out of luck. All right, they must have broken the mirror. I don't know. All right, other things of cracks. If you've ever heard the phrase "step on a crack, you break your mother's back," I am obsessive about this, and it's terrifying to myself. I have done this since I was a child, and I still do it now. But the superstition comes from it's called stepping on a crack, and it's the foretelling or even causing harm to a family member. As with mirrors, the cracks are supposed to indicate it, and they can be in the earth, the sidewalk, or anywhere else. They're seen as portals to supernatural realms. Could be good, could be bad. So stepping on a crack can invite or release unwelcome spirits ready to be harmed, or suck them into a portal. Could be fun, could suck.
Right.
Not sure. So those are just ones in our common culture. Here's some other weird ones. Okay, in Turkey, apparently chewing gum at night is very, very bad. Because at night, after dark, chewing gum magically transforms into the flesh of the dead.
Sweet.
So do not go to bed chewing gum or you will become a cannibal.
Hey.
Or a zombie. I'm not sure.
Wow.
I found zombies. In China, the number 4 is bad luck. In Chinese, the number 4, the word for it is very similar in sound to the word for death. I cannot pronounce these. It's Si Jiping Se. The only difference is this diacritical, which changes the sound of that vowel. Otherwise, it's the same thing. So death and 4 are too close together, so they don't like the number 4. It's like on Iron Chef, they always have 3 chefs and not 4 chefs. I don't know. Just a thing. Okay. In the Mediterranean and the Middle East, it's been common belief for thousands of years that achieving too much success invites the anger and envy of the gods, and then they'll crush you with reversal of fortune. In fear, people across the region fashion these amulets called the evil eye, also referred to as mazars, and that wards off the horrible fate. So if you have an evil eye, you can be as selfish and money-grubbing as you want. Right?
Sweet.
Neat. All right. Just a few more, and then we're almost done. In Japan, I found this one fascinating. They tuck their thumbs inside something in a cemetery. So you have to put them like inside your pockets or inside your coats. And it's because the word for thumb translates very closely to parent finger. So they tuck their thumbs in their pockets or into their fists in a cemetery when they're visiting the graves of dead relatives to protect your parents from dying.
Interesting.
Very interesting. In Russia, it is bad luck to give yellow flowers because yellow flowers represent infidelity, separation, or even death. So if you like yellow flowers, don't be Russian. Right? In the Caribbean, if you have itchy palms, it means 2 different things. Yeah. So if you have an itchy left palm, you're going to be losing money. If you have an itchy right palm, you're going to be gaining money. This is the idle hand. This is the active hand. Yeah, exactly. And then in South America, sweeping of the feet. I couldn't find a cool picture, so it's just a broom. In South America, they believe that if your feet are swept over by a broom, you're going to be single for the rest of your life.
Jeez.
But the curse can be broken if you spit on it. Hence the spinning. All right.
The float of the broom.
The broom.
This is the broom. No, the
You spit
broom.
on the foot, you might get kicked.
So, what are your superstitions? It can be hard to see your own superstitions. When I was reading through a lot of these, I'm like, oh my God, I do that. That's not cool. The difference between faithful behavior and superstition can be hard to discern, but the difference lies in our intentions inside. Any object, behavior, or belief that you invest with power to save you or give you good things apart from God is a pious talisman and is actually driving you away from God. The grace of Jesus, the fact that we don't actually have to do anything to win his love, negates this input-output thing. It's not the way to God. Superstitions might make us feel safe, but only Jesus and God can give us that actual security. So really think to yourself, and we'll hopefully talk about this in discussion, that what objects, behaviors, and beliefs give you or have given you a false sense of control over your life, and what good luck charms or talismans do you think relieve you from the burden of, just following God? So that's the question. All right.
Ooh.